So recently, I finished rewatching the anime to CLANNAD, and I decided might as well make a video talking about what I think about this because I mean, surprise, surprise, this is somewhere up there as a favorite anime of mine. I mean, like I feel like that's like the one thing I knew about when I was getting into this whole both the visual novel and the game. Is that it's just like just how well praised it was, how much people talk about it. And every time I've heard about it, it's always someone talking about it positively, and also talking about how much they cried. So yeah, that was a good sign for what to come when I played this, or even like when I played this visual novel originally. So might as well get some of my thoughts over on what I thought about it. In short, great. But I will also say that it's not. I'd say that it's like flawed, but the only flaws that it has are almost entirely because of just how great everything else about everything is in this, I guess. So first up, the positives. Well, unsurprisingly, every character in this game, in this story, especially her, is great. All of them have they all have fun, charming personalities, and it all ends up leading into like very like all sorts of like emotional stories out of like every character like having like I feel like any character well, not any character, but most characters can be considered someone's favorite, and you could like understand completely as to why they thought that. Because like a lot of these characters are like written in a way where like they're funny when they need to be, and they're sad when they need to be. Like a lot of like for example, Sunahara. I was trying to find a picture of him on here to point to. He is the joke character. He's the character who's like going to be constantly made fun of whenever anything happens. He's like always like the butt of every single joke. He's always the punchline, and sometimes he is punched. So that's like for most of like for a lot of the series, that is what his personality is, just the joke. But then they end up giving him like an actual storyline involving his sister, who is not on the back of a box. May, his sister right there, and it's an entire storyline that sort of that only works because he is the butt of a joke. He wants to prove that he's actually like he wants to like be like the cool older brother to his sister, and his sister wants him to be like the cool older brother that she used to know. So it's like not only do they have like funny characters, but they also have like use the jokes to like the advantage. And then there's also just characters like Fuka who have like just like very emotional story to her. And then like also Katone, who also has like one of the more emotional stories to me. And I can't really, there are like a few characters who I don't care about, but I feel like that's less of they didn't write them well, just more so as just like they weren't ever exactly meant to be anything like too surprising, I guess. Like for example, the older man, the old man who like sort of like is I forget like the sort of like name he has, but like the sort of like the teacher who was like helping out with the drama club, and who also ends up helping out with Fujibayashi's sister's wedding. That man is he has his own ending. He has his own ending. He is like somewhat important, but like he's never. I don't think he was ever exactly meant to like be super attached to. I guess like he was never like. At least like that's what came across to me. I guess one of the other characters who I'm not like too like caring about is the dorm mother of the Sunahara's dorm mother, or I don't remember what her name was, but her character as a personality, I guess I don't really care for her, but like at least like the story she has like involving her, that is at least interesting enough for her to be like at least be noteworthy to some degree. So like, I guess there was like no real bad characters in this in the series. Like there's no one to like, I can't imagine like exactly like hating anyone. That's just like how well written all these characters are, which is impressive considering how many characters there are that are like relevant enough for the story. Because like you've got these four here, Nagisa, the Fujibayashi twins, Fuko right there, and then Katoni here, and then later on you get like you got Tomoyo right there, and then of course Okazaki, and then Tsunohara, who I mentioned earlier. You've got Nagisa's parents. You've got Yushio, who comes in eventually, and then that's like all of like the sort of main characters. Oh yeah, and Mei as well. She ends up like having like importance to some degree, and then like so like there are so many like characters who are like all involved in the story, just like to be important. And I guess that all comes down to like the fact that the game was made originally as the original game this is based on is a visual novel, and because of the fact that there were so many like different endings in that visual novel, like to play through the entire thing would take 60 hours. I know because I have, and because of all how long the entire game is, but it's pretty much like a fully fledged visual novel path for like essentially all the characters, or at least all the like important ones. So basically like means that there's essentially a full game for like each of the characters. The Fujibayashi twins are like sort of shared, I guess, but so there's like a full story for like all the characters, with Nagisa especially getting like she has like the Nagisa storyline doing like the main story, and then like the after story, which is almost entirely revolving around her, aside from like the occasional like offshoots with there being endings for like her parents, and then also the like the engineer guy who I forget the name of, who's like also like who's also like an old rock star. So it's like there's so many like there's like so many of these like great characters with so many of like their great stories, which is like really like they all like resonate with me, and like all the characters' stories resonate in some way, which is like with how many stories there are, that's pretty impressive. And so another thing I like about CLANNAD can be seen right here. Assuming the camera actual focus. Well, I hope you could see that, because that was my MP3 player, which has the entire CLANNAD soundtrack on there, including whenever there's any sort of like repeat songs, which is just the same thing, but they change the instrument a little. I have like pretty much like I'd say the entire soundtrack is just great. Like I love the entire soundtrack. Like after I got my first ending, like usually when I beat like a game that has like multiple endings, what I'd usually do is make sure to make sure I like beat all of the endings, and then I like start like checking out the soundtrack more, because I don't want to like be like listening to a song and it just so happens to be like some important song that is like you end up seeing on like later into the game, or later into like whatever it is. But I was enjoying CLANNAD so much after my first playthrough that I decided to go into Steam and just buy the entire soundtrack. And I remind you, the entire game is 60 hours long, and I'm pretty sure like one playthrough of that takes up like, I don't know, 10, 12 hours, kind of like, it depends on which ending you go for, but the first ending I got was of the Fuko ending, and because of that, and because I had only seen one ending, that still left me out with like a lot of the game soundtrack that I just hadn't seen yet. But despite that, I still wanted to buy the soundtrack because I just loved it that much on my first playthrough. Like there were like so many like songs from like from that first ending that I remembered. I was like, I have to like listen to this in my own time. I have to like even if it means running the risk of accidentally listening to like the first few seconds of like a song that I haven't seen and potentially ruining the moment, like the moment at like the end of the story once you've finished the Nagisa storyline, once you finish the entire storyline actually, once you finish the after story and like you get the final credits of the game, and it shows and it's actually like a lyrical theme of Nagisa's theme. I had been like slightly been spoiled on that because like sometimes the soundtrack will be on shuffle, and it just so happens to be playing a song, and I just so happen to notice that it's one that I haven't heard when it's like when the lyrics start going in, and I notice that it seems to be sounding a lot like her song. But you know, it was just that good of a soundtrack that I was willing to experience the soundtrack so early. I'd skip any songs I haven't heard, but I still enjoyed it when there was only like, I don't know, 5 songs I'd listen to. And what is another thing I guess I could say about this? Well, I guess there's the obvious. It's sad, it's emotional. Well, not just sad, it's just emotional in general, because like yes, it is sad. There are very sad things in this. There are things that will make you cry out of sadness, but I feel like there's like a lot of things in this. Something that makes pretty much anything by these people, by key and visual artworks, key right there. Anything made by them is great at being emotional, not just sad, but also happy. They do so good at making it so you can cry out of sadness and cry out of joy, from just like how well how well the characters are made and how well the stories are made and how well the characters go into their story. Because like one thing I'll always remember is, well, once again go back to the Fuko ending. I remember once I was like, it was like since it was like the first ending I got into the game, it was like it was like getting fairly emotional for me, because it was like, you know, like it was just like a good story. I got like really attached to Fuko. She's my favorite character, even like after going through all the endings. And because of that, it was like just sad to like it was sad to see her like fade away, and it's like it was like very emotional to like see like all these like plot points going through. Like it was like very great to see her like her wish finally coming true, but it was also sad to see her leaving. But then it was also happy to see that she was coming back. And like I remember that getting that slight feeling of like almost crying to the end credits were playing. And I also remember my mum coming into the room when that was happening. So I had the thought of how hard would it be to explain to her that I was crying over this game, and so I ended up really crying. Granted, have you heard my voice? It's not like I'm that emotional of a person. So I probably wouldn't have ended up like actual tears after that moment. But you know, this isn't. What I'm basically trying to say is this game story is very emotional, because like it wasn't just Fuko's who had that awesome, but also Katoni, who also was like who I also ended up feeling very sad and like towards the end. And then there was Yukini. I'm pretty sure that's her name. I'm pretty sure she's one of the ones in here. Her, I'm pretty sure. She was I also remember finding her story like kind of emotional towards the end. I like really like clicked with her story a lot, like surprisingly amount. And then, of course, just everything about Yushio, from Yushio's birth to Yushio's death to Yushio's rebirth, I guess, can all be considered emotional. They're all very like impactful moments in the story, and like that's like everything. What Key is just like, that's just everything that they do, pretty much. I don't know if there's ever been like a story. Granted, I've not seen like a ton of that stuff. I mean, like I'll like probably like talk about some of the others later. But every time I've like seen something by Key, it's always been like sad, you know, and it's always been like happy. Because like the one running thing I think about this series, yes, it may be one of the saddest stories I've seen, but it's also one of the funniest. It's one of the funniest stories I've also seen. Because like just like the chemistry behind Okazaki and Ryo and Tsunohara, it all just like meshes so well that like whenever they're doing anything together, it just becomes funny. Like I remember this one part where it's like during the Fujibashi storyline, there's that scene where Tsunohara and Okazaki, they're both on like the school roof, and Tsunohara is like trying to like give advice to Okazaki, being like no matter what you do, someone's going to be sad. You just have to, you can't exactly be a hero in the story. You just have to go with what you want, go with what your gut tells you. And then after that moment, I just remember Tsunohara just saying, "Hey Okazaki, your problems are like something along the lines of like, your problems are like my biggest dreams or whatever." Like saying that Okazaki is like so lucky to have like two girls to be two girls wanting him, while Tsunohara just can't get any. It's just like even like in a more like even like a serious situation like that, they still find ways to like have like actual have like fun jokes to like go along with everything, which is just like that's just like how well written this the story is. And I guess that's pretty much just like all the things I have to say about like the positives. Just like great story, great characters, great music, and I guess pretty much great everything. So but I guess if that's everything I like to say about the positives, what are the negatives I could say about this? And I guess pretty much I might as well start with a negative from the original visual novel first, which is like not exactly like, it's not too problematic, but like there are some endings I don't think the game really like are exactly necessary, or at least it's like there are like a few endings in the game that are like kind of just odd. For example, the ending with like the Dawn Mother, who I'm forgetting the name of. She is her ending. It's like I understand, like I like the story, and I think it does have like a purpose, like a bit of a purpose, because it felt like it was like trying to like show how they're like these like pretty much showing like about like the orbs of light, pretty much like showing off the fact that they can perform these like miracles, and like which like sort of like leads into like the ending of the story, like the ending of like the overall CLANNAD story, which is like I guess like there is like some reason for it to be there, and like I don't exactly hate the story. It's a nice like it's an enjoyable little side story, but I also feel like maybe it could have like, I don't think it would have like changed that much if it wasn't there, because like the idea of like, yeah, maybe like it's not like the like miracles haven't happened before in this series. Like one, Fuko comes back, or at least like not just Fuko comes back, but it's like also like Fuko is like still being alive. Fuko's like coming back from like as like the like a little spirit. So like that's also like showing like at least like some amount of magicalness going on in the story. So like a miracle isn't like super out there of like an idea. And then also stuff like how Nagisa, when she was like when she was like not a baby, but like when she was a young child, when like like she got incredibly ill, and then her dad, who I'm constantly forgetting the name of right now, he went out to that field and she was like able to like come back. She was able to wake up from her coma, and like like that. I feel like those things alone are enough to like make it so like it feels like there's like enough believability in just the idea of the orbs of light creating miracles. So I don't exactly see why her storyline is there, but I can at least enjoy it because it's just like it was just at least a fun story, a nice story. But the old man who I mentioned earlier, the old teacher, I don't exactly know why he got his own storyline in the original game. Like, I feel like one of the reasons why they gave the old man his own like little ending in the game was simply because they wanted to give like an outcome if you lose the basketball game. Like if you choose the wrong character to bring with you, because you're supposed to bring Kyo. I think I got their names mixed up earlier, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to bring Kyo to the basketball game. But if you choose someone else, someone who isn't suited for basketball, it usually just it ends with like the sort of bad ending, I guess, where you end up like you don't end up bringing back the drama club, and you and Okazaki and Tsunohara just continue on with the year, and they end up when they go to graduation, they thank the old teacher for like all of the service that the help they've given them, or like the time they've like spent like making sure that they don't just like get expelled for like all of the stuff they did, because like he saw hope in them. So it's like I don't like entirely understand like why they gave him an ending outside of just like they wanted a bad ending, a not bad ending, but they wanted to give some kind of ending if you lose the basketball game. But maybe it's like something. The only idea I can think of as to why is maybe because maybe there's like a different culture in Japan around like respecting teachers and stuff. That's probably like a thing. That's probably like the idea of like respecting your teachers is probably like it was just like much more like a bigger deal in Japan. Maybe that's just me just like speculating here. So maybe they wanted to give like a storyline of these two troublemaker kids, these two troublemaker students, like showing like some gratitude to like this one teacher who's been like actually like helping them in other endings as well, not just in the fact of like making sure that they don't get expelled, making sure that they like have company by like being the reason why Tsunohara and Okazaki like originally became friends. Maybe that's just a reason they wanted to show gratitude. They wanted to show like these troublemaker kids or like these troublemaker students like actually like being like kind to one of the teachers. Like they didn't want to like show them as being like completely disrespectful. But maybe like they could have done like as just like a side thing in one of the endings. Cause like you go like when you watch that part in this anime, you probably won't even realize that it could be considered like a different ending from the visual novel. Cause like it just feels like you could have just like put it into like any ending, and like you could have just like thrown it into Nagita's ending, and it would have like still worked. Maybe it would have had like rework a few little things, because like it would still be like, cause like at that time Nagisa would have been ill, so like she probably wouldn't have been there. I think if I'm getting like the timeline of events correct. But I guess so like what else is so like I can't exactly think of like other like major problems with like the visual novel. Like I guess maybe 60 hours is fairly long for a visual novel, but I mean that's still visual novels of great stories, so I guess there's like nothing too bad to complain about. But maybe I could move on to some of the more anime specific complaints I have, and some of the more like easier to like point out complaints is just that it's not entirely accurate of an adaptation, which is fine. It's fine to be like it's an adaptation. It's not a translation. they're not translating it to an anime. They're adapting it. They're not trying to they're not doing a one-to-one recreation in the form of an animated TV show turned onto a Blu-ray. This is they adapted the anime. They adapted the visual novel into an anime. So they had to obviously they have to change things. So like some of the obvious things are like Okazaki doesn't end up becoming like my boyfriends to like most of the characters, only Nagisa, and like they do have the ending for the Fujibashi twins and also for Tomoyo, but like even then like a lot of like the build up to those ones are like they do have them as bonus. They do have those endings as bonus episodes, but most of the build up is just like sort of just like scattered around the original, scattered around like the episodes, which is like, and then there's also things like Yukini and Katoni, like their endings had Okazaki falling in love with them as well, which is just like completely removed. Like the most you get is like the closest like thing to that you get is Fujibashi just like showing that she's in love with Okazaki. I don't even think Yukini like shows love to Okazaki though, so it's like clear that they did like it's not like a 100% accurate adaptation to from the visual novel, but at least those ways you can understand why they had to do it. It wouldn't entirely make sense for Okazaki to be like jumping around between like different love interests, because when you like see it in the anime, it does feel like it's just like, oh, Okazaki and Nagisa, you can't possibly imagine it being anyone else. But then and then you get into the over bonus episode, and you're like, oh, maybe he did have a chance with other people, but it just like hits a lot more to have it just be like Okazaki and Nagisa. So that just makes it's an understandable change. But one thing that I can only understand as a change for simply time constraints of like how long the series lasts, because it's like 24 episodes. But it's like not just 24 episodes, like 24 and 25 episodes, like combined across both seasons. It's like that's nearly 50 episodes worth of content. Well, minus one because the last one after the story is just like a recap. So that's like 48 episodes in total. With that, I can kind of understand why they cut a few of the endings, but I still feel like they would have been just nice to have, because there are 3 endings that they cut out on. The ending for Nagisa's dad, I'm still thinking on his name, and for Sanai, and then there's also that other character who I don't remember the name of. So this other ending that was removed from the anime was of a character called Kappei Hiragi, whom wasn't exactly suffering from cancer like I originally thought. It's from osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma. Good enough. And he wasn't suffering exactly from cancer. He was suffering from osteosarcoma, which is, according to Wikipedia, a cancerous tumor in a bone. So, I guess I was half right about it being cancer. So, basically, I can understand why they didn't have this in the anime, because it clashes with a lot of things. For example, with a lot of the endings of in the visual novel, they may be sad, but they usually say, like right after something sad, they usually say something happy to like sort of like balance it out. Usually, like for example, Yukini, her it's revealed that her brother is dead. But they then, right after that, her brother's wish is granted, and both the rival gangs are now friends and get well together. So you know, it may be overwhelmingly sad, but then they end up hitting you with something joyful to fix that. With Kepe, that was not the case. It reveals to you that he has osteosarcoma. It's revealed that he has osteosarcoma, and then he gets convinced to go through the surgery. He gets like legs amputated, so then he can like get rid of it and like be able to like actually live, even if he can't exactly fulfill his dream. But then like it's like 5 years later. I think it even happens after the credits roll. It's like 5 years later. He's back in the hospital. He waited too long. He's got something again from it. Like he waited too long, and he's got like osteosarcoma, sarcoma, like somewhere else or something along those lines. I can't quite remember. And that goes completely against that rule of something sad and something happy, because it just goes something sad, something happy, and then just soul crushing when you realize that something happy just like didn't mean anything at all. And like that's not like the only thing that's like I feel like would have like stopped it from like being in the anime. I think there's also like the problem of like the timing of it. It would probably be around the time like Yushio would be around, probably, unless they wanted to give like a story where there was like 5 years after they got married, then they got after Nagisa and Okazaki got married, then they had Yushio. But then that would kind of mean like you need to like slightly redesign the characters slowly to make them look a little bit older, to like explain the 5-year jump. I guess they'd probably have to do something like that. And like so like the idea is to either have these two stay together, have Okazaki and Nagisa be in love for 5 years before having Yushio, so then they could have Cafe's storyline during that, or they could have Nagisa and Okazaki go as normal, and then while Yushio is around, that is when Cafe is revealed to have osteosarcoma again, which would be like, that kind of seems like that sounds like too much, you know, just like well in the middle of like sorting out Okazaki's life, getting back, like fixing his relationship with his daughter, fixing his relationship with his father, and like all that kind of stuff. That is then when you kill this character who was probably, well, not exactly killed, but at least like imply the death of this character who was like not even like an important character. Like I can't imagine them like exactly meshing well into anyone else's storylines, especially since they're not even from like the school, they're like from like wherever the school is that all of these characters went to. So it's like it would have been like much harder to like organically put them into the story without just having it just be like an entirely separate thing. So I can understand why they weren't included. Though, like I said earlier, they could have at least gone for a bonus episode, but I guess it was the same thing as these two. It just like increases the episode count to be like probably like far too much for what they could explain. Like what good they couldn't have a good reason to include it. So I guess I might as well go into one final complaint I have about this. I guess one final complaint I have about CLANNAD, and it is, I guess it could be something regarded as something that's both like a visual novel problem and the anime problem. And it's really only a problem because of how well made the series is. But I hate that the only thing I think about when I think about this series is Nagisa's storyline. Because honestly, I don't think it's exactly my favourite storyline. It's the most impactful storyline because you not only experience one death but two. So, you know, that's got like one thing above pretty much all of the other storylines, but it's also like it's double the length of every other storyline, because it's like you've got the Nagisa storyline at school with like bringing back the drama club and doing their play, but then there's also the after story. You've got all the stuff about Nagisa trying to graduate. You got all the stuff about Okazaki trying to like move out, trying to like live his own life, trying to like him trying to like get his own like job, trying to like, well, also like the stuff about like his dad, and then all the stuff about Okazaki and Nagisa getting together, finally getting married, finally having a kid, and then everything else that comes out after Yushio. So like, there's like so much to Nagisa's storyline and so much to Nagisa's like her story as a whole that it just like completely like removes like all the other characters from my mind when it comes to like the series. Because honestly, I think like I prefer Fuko's and Kotomi's storylines even more than hers, to be honest. Like they made it like, if it was like just like the storyline segment, those two would be like the more like impactful storyline for me. Like I really got attached to like Fuko and Kotomi, and because of that, those stories were just like meant a lot more for me. And like because of that, I kind of like got like, I ended up having like a more fonder opinion of their storylines more. But it's still, Nagisa is just the storyline for me, almost to a point where it's like I kind of wish it didn't adapt all of the different storylines of the anime of a visual novel. I kind of wish the series was just the Nagisa storyline. Like, instead of it being 24 episodes, it was just maybe just like 12 episodes for the first season, another 12 episodes for the after story. And then like, hey, at least I win, because they kind of need to have a Fuko storyline in the first series, in the first season for that, to like have Fuko appear in the second one. But like, but I feel like it would just be like, I kind of wish that there wasn't all of the other character storylines, just so we could get to like that, or like, well, not just get to the Nagisa storyline, but I kind of wish it could just get to the characters who I wanted to like experience. So it could like and like, I guess it would also fix the problem of like each of the storylines like not being completely adapted to the anime, because that way they can now actually have the like we can actually have like each time can have its own each storyline can have its own time in the spotlight. So and like I might as well use this as a way to bring up another story from Key, which I think does not have this problem, despite having a very similar like structure to its game. And that is with the game and anime adaptation of CLANNAD, because in this it is fairly similar to CLANNAD in like many different ways. There's like, because like you've got all sorts of things, like you've got characters who are both, you know, like not exactly there. They're like, oh, they're in hospital. You've got characters who are very ill. You've got characters like Mai, if I remember her name. Like you've got characters like her who is like who's just like Tomoyo, with like there being like more of like, I guess, violent kind of character. You've got like, you know, like very clear similarities between like these two series, especially with it all being like set within a school. So one thing I think CLANNAD is better than CLANNAD, despite this one being the first thing they made and this one being the third, is that IU is not like the entirely first thing that I think about when I think of the series, because like they each have like a similarly equal length in like their storyline, and because of that, it's like it doesn't feel like it's like an overwhelming amount of Ayu. It feels like everyone gets their own time in the spotlight, and their spotlight is like equally as long. Like we only I guess like the only exception to that, at least in the anime adaptation, is Nayuki, but she at least has like the benefit of being the cousin to the main character. He's staying with Nayuki, so there's like naturally just gonna be like together a lot more, with a lot more scenes together. So with canon, there's just like a lot more like better spread between all the characters, where like it's clear that Ayu is like the main girl out of all of them, but yet they still have like enough time for me to like. When I think of canon, I honestly think of things more like maybe like these two, and then rather than more than Ayu, despite the fact that Ayu was not only the main one, but also the first character I got, the first ending I got in when I played the visual novel. So it's like, I feel like if CLANNAD was like much more like shortened down with like the Nagisa stuff, it would have been like it would have had like a much more better balance. But I also feel like Nagisa's storyline just works so well with how long it is. So I might as well give off my own idea of what kind of way to fix this that I thought of. And it's a way that would never ever actually happen because they would probably be far too expensive. Especially at the time when this was being made, because like, I don't think at this time Kia exactly was like is as big as it is now. Like, I'm pretty sure I know that at least CLANNAD and, as mentioned here, Angel Beats, I'm pretty sure they grew Key's popularity outside of Japan. I don't know like how popular Key was in Japan by the time CLANNAD was getting its anime adaptation, but I feel like if you want to do the best way to like fix this problem could maybe be make like a movie for like each of the characters' different storylines. Like you get the Fujibayashi twins as like their own movie. You get like you get Katomi for her own storyline, Tomoyo for her own storyline, and Yukini maybe as like her own storyline movie. Maybe like throwing like a few of the other characters here and there, if like sort of sprinkling like their own like some like the lesser important storylines, like try like sprinkle it in like throughout the thing, and like that way you can like get like a more accurate adaptation for like each of the characters. You get like a more as well as the fact that like when you get to the Nagisa storyline, you can treat it as like a big deal because it's like, oh, this one's not just like a theatrical release. This is not just going to be like an hour long, this is not just going to be like a 2-hour long movie. This is going to be a full-on 2-season show where the first half is Nagisa at school and the second half is the CLANNAD after story, with showing off her time trying to graduate, her time and Okuraki's time trying to move out and try and like live his own life and all of that. And like, do I think that would ever happen? No. Do I kind of wish it could happen? Yes. But I you know, we got this anime, and it's a great adaptation of a great story, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much. So yeah, I guess that's everything I wanted to talk about. So I guess my final thoughts are: CLANNAD is a great anime. I'd highly recommend it to anyone, and if you're interested in visual novels, I'd also say that CLANNAD is a great one. I may even argue that, at least if you're interested in the idea of spending 60 hours on one visual novel, I'd almost say that CLANNAD as a visual novel is better, simply just because it's just like you got like the split up storylines, you get to name them, you get to like name the main character to be yourself, so you get to like inject yourself into the story if that's the kind of thing you enjoy. So so I guess if you like visual novels and are willing to spend for 60 hours, I'd say go for that first. But you know, you can't go wrong. Besides, I feel like you could probably get like a used copy of the Blu-ray, or even like the DVDs for cheaper than the visual novel, probably, maybe. I don't know exactly know the prices of any of them. I can at least say, try to find a way to experience the story through a visual novel, through the anime, and don't pirate it, and don't watch someone do their own let's play of a visual novel, because that's pretty much just piracy of a visual novel. Since you're experiencing the story but didn't even pay for it. So, how do I end a YouTube video? So, all of that what you just saw was recorded back in late October, and currently an entire month has passed. It's now 7th of December, and I finally had an opportunity to actually start editing the video, and I've come to realize that there's some somewhat important things I haven't talked about yet. So I figured I'd record something new just to add on to the end of it, and I might as well start with explaining exactly why did I rewatch the series in the first place. And it all starts at the start of this year, 2025, where I decided that I'd be playing through the game, or at least one ending of the game, with my mom. It's like something that we like sometimes do is I sort of like bring up a game that I like and play it with her, or sometimes I bring up like a show that I like and just watch it with her. And I think ever since I started like playing this, I've came to realize that this would probably be something she'd be interested in, and the perfect time came around for me to actually play it with her. And so we played through the game together with her mostly being the one doing like all the options in the game. She was very much the one who decided where the story would lead to, because we were only going to be playing through one ending. And I might as well just talk a little bit about what happened in our playthrough, because well, first of all, she really ended up liking Sunohara. I was probably one of her favorite characters in the entire thing. She really enjoyed just seeing him just make a fool of himself, which you can't blame him. You can't blame her, because that is the point of Sunohara, to just be a fool or be the butt of every joke. But that kind of led to something funny, where I was very sure she'd end up doing the Tomoyo storyline. But there was one thing I didn't put into consideration. At some point, Tomoyo tells Okazaki to get Sunohara to stop messing around, stop trying to prove that Tomoyo isn't a girl, and just leave her alone. And I didn't put into consideration that my mom enjoyed Sunohara's pain so much that she would willingly sabotage herself from getting her storyline just to see Sunohara fail one more time. So when she was given the option to either stop Sunohara from going to when she was given the opportunity to stop Tsunohara from messing with Tomoyo, it was either like stay behind and just let Tomoyo and just let Tsunohara do his thing, or stop Tsunohara. She was like, nah, I'm just gonna sit around just to see what happens to him, and so she ended up stopping herself from going to the Tomoyo storyline. But then that led her going down the Fuko storyline instead, which is funny enough the very first ending that I got when I played. And something I found something I kind of memorable about the playthrough was on how there's this point of the story in Fuko's storyline where it's clearly just it's pretty much just asking you which storyline do you want to go on, Nagisa's or Fuko's. It was Nagisa is finally given an opportunity that could mean that she can do the drama club. But the problem is if she didn't do that, if she didn't take that opportunity, it would mean that that other club that was trying to go for that older man teacher for the supervisor. The same club that was doing that, they pretty much just be guaranteed the ability to have the club, and the drama club would be missing out on actually existing. So it was either, but then if you decide to not go along with making the drama club, you'll at least be able to help out Fuko. So it's if you started going to the drama club, if you made the drama club, you wouldn't have enough time for Fuko. So it was oh, which one do you want to do? Help Fuko or help Nagisa? And my mom was just instantly oh yeah, I'm just gonna help Fuko. She was just already so invested in her storyline to be yep, I'm helping her. So that's something just kind of memorable about that. I don't know entirely why that's memorable to me, but it just is. So then after we played through the visual novel, that was then when I decided that we'll begin rewatching the series. So then she can get so my mom can get the entire storyline, learn what the entire thing is. Because every time we went to that other world kind of place with the lonely girl and the robot thing, every time we got to one of those scenes, she'd always just turn to me and just ask for an explanation, ask what it all meant, knowing full well that it will spoil the entire story if I told her that. But she wouldn't stop her from asking because she was just so intrigued by how mysterious it all was. So then we started watching the entire series together, and it ended up taking pretty much the entire rest of the year. We had the entire year of just nothing but CLANNAD, pretty much. So and it was just it's just I guess this is gonna be a fond memory with this series of just remembering the time when I watched it with her, especially since there's one thing that I will I feel I'll always kind of remember, particularly about towards the end of the after story, where spoiler alert, Nagisa dies. After that part, my mom was just she was so shocked at at that moment that she was basically just clinging on to anything to imagine that it didn't actually happen. Basically, she was sure that that Nagisa was just in a coma or something. She was just in hospital or something. Oh, she can't possibly have died. There's no way they would have killed such an important, great character like that. And I remember being she was super adamant about all of that. And I remember just being it was the next episode after the part where Okazaki is coming home with Yushio after they went out on their little trip together. After the next episode after all of that, I'm pretty sure that was when my mom finally decided that that she pretty much came to terms with the fact that Nagisa was dead, and won't be coming back in the story as far as she was aware. And like, something about that would just like always stick in my mind, because it's like, it would just like remind me of just like how just impactful, like, not only just like, just how like much of an impact like Nagisa's like story and her character is like has, how like emotional it is, like how much like you want to like protect her and stuff, because of like all of like things about like her being like, you know, like insecure about herself, or about her like having so many troubles in her life. It's like, you know, it's something about this, like seeing my mom just like refuse to believe that she will die, which just like sort of just like cements of like just like what makes this like series just like so special. It's just like all these like these characters can be like get you like really attached to them, which is like, I guess that's just kind of impressive, or just like how well it all is. And I'm making all these comments about like these fun emotional memories and stuff, but there's also like another. I'm pretty sure my mom will get angry if I don't talk about this other story that happened when we were playing. So when we were watching, actually, it was basically like a common thing. It's basically a common thing whenever like I watch anything with my mom, that she will just like commentate and ask questions over whatever's happening. So it'll be like something. So let's say like there's like a scene where like, I don't know, where it's like let's say like about like those like, for example, like those like scenes in like the other world. She'd always be asking, what is going on here? She wants to know the exact things of what's going on, even if it's like a spoiler. So of course, obviously, I'm not gonna like I never tell her any of these things, and sometimes if it's something like a detective mystery or something, I even try to like tell her yes or no, just to try and trick her into like thinking that something else is going on. But the one thing that was like going on, and not only is like just she like randomly ask questions from when we're watching, but she'll sometimes like even like make jokes about things that are going on. Like if someone like walks into a room, let's say, and then one of the characters, and like they ask like, oh, where's this character? Where have they gone? I was looking for them. She'll probably just make a stupid comment about them like doing utterly anything somewhere. Like she'll make it like she'll like say something stupid. She'll probably say something rude. You know, stupid jokes like that. And there's one scene that's like you know, pretty important. It was the scene where Okazaki and Nagisa were sort of like hanging out together, trying to like finally decide on like a name for their daughter. And just as they were both about to say Yushio and come to that conclusion, my mom decided that this emotional moment is the perfect time to make the stupid joke of fishy fishy swim swim. That's the name that Yushio is gonna have. And ever since then, I've never forgiven her for completely ruining such a nice emotional moment. But at least it was funny, so I guess at least she gets 1 point after that. But ever since that moment, I kept making a tally of every single time she'd say something with it while we're watching an episode while a character's talking. And yes, she did get annoyed of it, so I guess I win out with all of that. So I guess like there's all of that, like this entire series is like, not only is it just like memorable for like its own story, but like I've also like sort of like made my own memorable stories out of it. And there's another personal thing as to like another personal like attachment I have to this series, which is sort of like the timing of like when I like got into the series, when I got into CLANNAD. So like back in late 2022, I was kicked out of my own house because I was kicked out of my own house from my dad, which father struggles is already something to be connected with this, because you know Okazaki and his father weren't on like the best of terms ever throughout like the pretty much the entirety of the story. So, you know, that's already one thing to be connected with, I guess. But then there's also, but then like, shortly after like shortly after I got kicked out of like the place and had to like started living with my mom. That was then when I decided to buy CLANNAD and just like start playing through it. And it was and initially it was very slow. I didn't exactly have like a good time and a good like place to like play a visual novel, especially a visual novel like this, on how I played it with like setting my name to be the main character and like sort of like trying to invest myself in the world. It was like really hard to like do that for like a long while. So, and considering it's like a 60-hour-long game, it meant that it took a long while for me to actually get around to finishing this. So in 2024, I was finally able to finish the game, and then I was like, funny enough, one way that motivated me to finish this game was to actually buy this Blu-ray here. This Blu-ray set of like the entire entire 2 seasons, because then that way it's like I can like just like put this on a shelf and just remind me that I still have CLANNAD to finish. And once I finish the game, I can treat myself by watching the anime. And because of and like after like I was able to finish the game, like I think it was in like summer of 2024, and then I was able to watch the anime after it. And after all that, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna as soon as I'm available to, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to play the game and watch the series with my mom. And then shortly after that, it was in like October when we finished watching all of these, including like all of like the bonus episodes. After going through all of that with my mom, I ended up in this place and ended up moving out from my mom's place and into my own place, which explains why everything looks completely different in here. So it's like there's always like sort of like a fun story about this and how it's like it was there for me pretty much the entire time I was when I was like living at my mom's place, and it was like once I moved there, I started with CLANNAD, and once I ended CLANNAD, I moved out. It's just like, you know, a nice like emotional attachment to this, a nice like sort of like story behind this, especially since once I upload this video, I pretty much have like no other like things I want to do with the series. This will just be like, this won't go from like one of those series I have to like finish all the things I wanted. I won't have. It will instead be just like, just the next time I put this, like next time I start watching this, it will just be because I just want to re-experience it. It was like no end goal. I just want to re-experience the story. So I guess that's pretty much everything I have to say about this. I say that, but like I already had to re-record. I had to record like a new section already. So if this is the CLANNAD after story, then in 5 seconds I will probably cut away to a rambling about CLANNAD after story, and that'll be a pain if I have to do so.